Hello, good people of the internet. I want to chat to you today about two words and their meanings, paddocks and turnout. The very first thing I think we need to make very, very clear is that we don't all share definitions of what turnout and paddocks look like. And I've noticed this over the last few years from the conversations I've seen on the internet and people describing their paddocks and turnout, and me thinking, that's not what I consider turnout or paddocks, but I can see how it is for some people. And how we define these things really depends on our own unique life experiences, our learning history. What have we been exposed to? Where do we live in the world? And what is normal where we live and in the communities that we move in? So where I am in Australia, in Victoria, and with the background that I've had, I've grown up with paddocks and turnout being big open spaces for horses. That's what I've been exposed to. So just now I'm standing in the middle of one of our paddocks here. I'll turn this around and show you. Here's Fernando, and this paddock goes right down behind the shrubbery down there. It's a bit hard to see the end fence, and hopefully you can see the fence coming along here. We've got flex in this paddock as well, and it goes all the way down to the fence here. So this paddock here is maybe 3, maybe 4 acres. I'm pretty rubbish at estimating, but you can see it's a decent sized paddock. And to me, this is a paddock, and it's quite a big paddock. And sometimes we will have our horses in smaller paddocks than this. We do have some paddocks that are smaller. Our smallest paddock is probably an acre still in size. But some people will talk about their paddocks, and what they mean by a paddock is something that is smaller than the size of a dressage arena. A dressage arena is 20 metres by 60 metres, and for some people, the paddock that they're used to and the way they define a paddock is something that's maybe even 30 metres by 40 metres in diameter. So compared to this, it's quite small, but that's what those people have grown up with, and that's what they or you might be used to, and that's your normal. Now, when I think of turning horses out, to me that implies that our horses are kept in and then we're turning them out into a paddock. So again, it could be any size, but I've seen people talking about turning horses out into a space that is the same size as the stable, it's just not under the roofline. Probably justified in that label. It's still turning the horse out of the stable, so that does make sense. But it's not what I would do, and it's not how I visualize it when I think of a paddock or turnout. So I think what we need to do is just firstly understand that we have different definitions. So if you are asking someone for assistance with something to do with your horse, and you're saying, my horse has 12 hours turnout a day, or my horse goes out in a paddock, or it lives in a paddock, we need to give a bit of an idea of size, because otherwise there's going to be a vast difference potentially in the behaviour of our horses between the kind of paddock I'm standing in and the kind of paddock that is 20 metres or 30 metres by 40 metres in diameter. This video message is not to critique how you are keeping your horses. It is really about us just all acknowledging and being aware that we define things differently, even in terms of our horses' lifestyle and management and the spaces that they live in. We're all constricted by limitations. Very few people have the ability to keep our horses like they would be kept in the wild over the vast tracts of land that they would have lived in wild populations. We only have 40 acres here. That's not enough, but some people have an awful lot less. And does that mean that their horses live a poor lifestyle or a poor life? Not necessarily, no. It's just about we're all limited by our resources and we all define things differently. And what we're all trying to do, I hope, is striving to give our horses the most best species appropriate lifestyle that we possibly can within the limitations and that we have. Time, money, space, the communities we live in, the countries we live in, it's a real challenge. Okay, so the other aspect of this that I just want to cover, I think that when horses go out, they need access at some point daily, if not repeatedly in a day, to be able to move through all of their paces if they want to without needing to turn too many corners. So they need to be able to walk, trot, canter, and even gallop, and have the space and freedom to be able to do that. I know that's challenging for some people because of space limitations, but there's amazing things now with tracks and ways we can be keeping our horses that can give them access to that ability to move. Why do I think that's important? Because I see how the different ways we keep our horses directly correlate with how they behave in their handling and their riding, which I call training. Often we will see problems in handling and riding, training, and we can think it's a problem to do with the training. It's often a problem not to do with the training, but to do with management or lifestyle, and sometimes to do with physiological issues that our horses have. So it's really important that we consider our horses' management and lifestyle as how it relates to their training and as how it directly correlates with how successful or not we are when we're handling and riding our horses. So many problems can actually be fixed in horses' management and lifestyle and making adjustments to that. So if your horse is showing undesirable behaviours in their training, please have a think about, could that be related to their management and their lifestyle? Again, I see it happen here. We have all this space. It still happens here. I spent 12 months scratching my head over what I thought was a training issue for Ren, and then I thought it was a physiological issue. Do you know what? It was a lifestyle issue. It was a lifestyle issue to do with how he was being kept, and he'd had to be confined after having had an injury and surgery, and he had to be confined, and that built up some kind of, we'll call it frustration for him, but it was actually a management and lifestyle issue. And once he started to be able to go out in big paddocks with his friends again, and he's down there in the background somewhere, oh, there he is. Ooh, how do I get my hand back there? There, he's there. The issue went away. And I'd spent 12 months scratching my head about it. So if your horse is showing undesirable behaviours or maladaptive behaviours, please definitely think about their lifestyle and management. Be aware that we all define paddocks and turnout differently, and see if there are things that you can potentially tweak in how your horse lives and how you manage them that can improve those behaviours or remove those behaviours. You never know. All right. Beautiful people of the internet, you take care, and we'll speak to you soon. Bye. Mwah.